All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to night two of the District 44 2026 Little League Rules Clinic. And we're glad to have you back, the ones that were here last night. And people might be joining us for the first time. Just want to tell you we did make a recording of last night's session. It is
Did a recording.
posted on YouTube. It
Okay.
is already up on the link to that's already on the District 44 website, so you can catch up if you missed it, or you just want to watch it again because of how brilliant Jim and I were. Tongue in cheek, he said. But let me introduce your instructors and talk a little bit about what we're going to do tonight. So here are your two instructors. I'm Mark Teagle. I'm the District 44 umpire in chief, and staff umpire Jim Moleris is also with me. And Jim does the lion's share of the work on this preparing. And
Why is this
we're
on?
going to ask everyone, please mute their video and mute their microphones so that we can spare as much bandwidth as possible for the videos and for the content. And we'll try to keep you going here. So, a couple of protocols for the Zoom meeting. Um, like I just said, keep your video off and you should all be on mute. This is a kind of one-way communication, but you can ask questions um, to the chat. So just type in your questions, and Jim and I will be monitoring the chat as it's coming in. And for pertinent questions, we will pause and take a moment to answer them. One caution, just make sure that the chat is used to ask those kinds of questions. It's not there for you to be greeting one another or commenting on the weather. It's we want to make sure that we're just asking umpiring questions and things about what we're talking about in tonight. And we're also going to be doing some quizzes or some votes. And don't put your answers in the chat, but just use the quizzes tool that Zoom has to answer that. That way it can be tabulated and we can have a feel for what people are answering. So, but welcome to tonight. We're going to dive in. We're going to do a little review of what we went on last night. We covered the new rules for 2026, covered equipment, pitch and pitchers, uh, talked about batting, talked about important definitions: ball, strike, foul tip, and intentional walk. Some more definitions: bunt, fair ball, foul ball, and then
New
very
rule.
important: catch, no catch. And we also covered the infield fly rule, double first base, and local league rule options.
Not no single person.
All right. And so we're going to start out tonight with talking about runners. And so now we've got people on base, and we're going to cover the courtesy runners. So with a continuous batting order, you can sub for the pitcher or the catcher of record when there are two outs. And the purpose of that is to allow them to have a little time to prepare for the next inning. Catchers can get all geared up, things like that. They also get to kind of skip having to run the bases a little bit. So it needs to be um, if it's continuous batting order, the player that made the last out. Now, if we're doing a bat nine situation, most often seen at seniors, we have special pinch runners, and that's somebody who's not in that nine players in the batting order, and they can be utilized as a runner for any offensive player. Um, and that's not available when you're doing continuous batting order because there's not anybody who's not currently in the lineup. All right, we're going to talk about the runner's lane. You see where that runner's lane is marked? It's the half distance between home and first base, the second half there on a 60-foot diamond, that's going to be 30 feet. In 90 foot, it's going to be 45 feet there. And so that's to protect the fielder receiving the throw at first base. It's not created to protect the thrower. There has to be a throw, and it has to be a quality throw in order to qualify for that rule. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a quality throw, and the runner not being in the runner's lane interferes with the reception of that throw by the fielder. So the penalty, immediate dead ball, the batter runner is out because he's the one that has done the interfering. And then because it's interference, everybody returns to their time of pitch base. So boy, if you've everybody's advancing and that batter runner messes it up, that's a pretty good penalty. And so you want to avoid that. Um, Now, just by running inside the lane or outside the lane, or either side of the lane, does not mean they have interfered. They have to actually interfere for you to call that. So they can run wherever they want as long as they don't interfere with that throw. So you can be, as long as your part of your foot is on the line or in the lane, you're okay. But if you're completely out of it, then you are in danger of being called for interference. If you are, there's a fielder that is fielding a batted ball, you can run outside the runner's lane. That doesn't matter. It's only interfering with that throw that we're worried about.
Mark, I'll just add also, I think the double first base, there's no difference, single base or double first base. The runner's lane is still in effect.
Yeah. The nice thing about double first base is that your first base is now in the runner's lane and it's a nice straight shot. You don't have to kind of come into fair territory at the very end like you do with just a single first base. So it's like right there. All right, so we've got a video of runner's lane interference. Let's watch and see what happens.
Buddy out. Jeremiah Dominguez bunts. Fielded by Lane. Throws to first off the glove. That's a violation of running. Everybody will be sent back. And that takes a run off the board. So Dominguez will be out as he was running in the field of play, nowhere to throw the ball.
So you see the throw going in. It's a quality throw. It hits the batter runner in the back, keeps the fielder from being able to receive that throw. And the call should be made immediately, but this umpire waited a little bit, saw how the play, but he did get it right. He made the call of interference, and you saw him moving all those runners back. So that's the plate umpire's job, awarding bases or unawarding bases, putting people back where they belonged on that call. Here's another example.
We're going to vote on this one.
On ESPN2, Barack Labarine drops down a dandy of a bunt, and there's 2 on with nobody out. That's what caused all the commotion. Nobody covering second. And guess what?
And I apologize for the choppy nature of the video. I'm not sure what happened between yesterday and today, but it's a little choppy.
Yeah. All right. Let's get the choices. We've seen the play. So we have A, batter runner was in the runner's lane, causing the catcher to not attempt to throw. So he is out and R1 must return to first base. Or B, there was no throw by the catcher to first base. So runner's lane interference is not enforced. And so there's the poll. Go ahead and vote. Which one of those two do you think is the right one? All right, the votes are coming in. All right, well, and that, share it with you. And B got the most votes because, as we said, there has to be a throw for runner's lane interference. All right, so that is the correct answer. B. All right, we're going to talk about the um, the runner's base path versus the baseline. So the runner creates their own base path. They can choose their own way. They can lollygag all around, or they can do a nice looping route like this. It's not a straight line between bases for the base path. But when a tag attempt is being made, then the baseline is established, and that is a straight line from where the runner is to the base they're attempting to reach. And so if they deviate more than 3 feet from that baseline, they can be called out, or they should be called out. So this doesn't happen until there's a tag being made. It's like, oh, he's out of the baseline. He's out of the baseline. Well, was there a tag attempt being made? Is he reacting to the fielder, or is he just running the wherever he or she wants to go? So that's the distinction. And there he goes. If he goes more than 3 feet from that baseline to avoid the tag, he should be called out. Right? But bear in mind, in a rundown, the baseline is going to change. Every time he turns around, changes his path, there's a new baseline. And it's until there's somebody in his path that has the ball and is trying to make a tag, then they can be out of the baseline. And this is where we often see an out of the baseline call, is during a rundown. All right. So you see all of that stuff back and forth, back and forth. Now, if they're attempting, or if they're avoiding a fielder who is fielding a batted ball, that is not out of the baseline until a tag is attempted. So he should be avoiding that fielder, because he could be guilty of interference if he gets in the way of a fielder batting or fielding a batted ball. So we just want to point out those distinctions. All right. And so let's move on to a force play. A lot of outs are a result of force plays. Force play means that the runners have to run because of the batter becoming a runner. It's pushing everybody forward if they're forced. So if you've got a runner at first and the batter puts the ball in play, that runner has to run to second. But that force might be removed or even restored during play. So if, let's say, they tag first base and retire the batter runner, then that runner running to second from first is no longer forced. And he might decide to retreat, or, but he cannot be forced out at second. He would have to be tagged. So it's important to know, is the force on? So here's a video. Look at where the runner is. We got a runner at first. We've got a batter runner. And the play starts. Okay. So there was a force play at first, and then the runner slides in, and the tag is applied late. But the umpire, we think, probably got mixed up thinking that it was still a force play. Because if it was a force play, he would be out. But because it's tag play, his foot gets in there before the tag is applied. So just make sure you're aware. Is the force on or not?
All right. I'm going to talk about runners leaving early now. And Little League Baseball is in majors and below is, I think, the only form of baseball that requires runners to stay in contact with the base until the pitch arrives to the batter. So if the pitcher's in contact with the pitcher's plate and has possession of the ball, and the catcher's in the catcher's box and ready to receive the ball, uh, and the batter is facing the pitcher with their helmet on, or excuse me, the catcher has their helmet on and is facing the pitcher. They don't have to be in the squat. If those two conditions are in place, then the base runners can't leave their base until the ball's been delivered and has reached the batter. It's not until the ball reaches home plate, it's when the ball reaches the batter. It only takes effect once the continuing action of the ongoing play that may have just happened has stopped. So, for instance, if a batter is walked, they can run to first base and run right through it to second base, even if the above conditions of the pitcher having the ball in contact with the pitcher's plate and the catcher standing with their helmet on, they still have to play defense. They have to be able to keep that runner from going to second base. And if a runner does leave early, it affects all other base runners. So if one base runner leaves early, and nothing else happens, or maybe everybody advances a base, well, they may need to go back, depending on the situation. But it's not just that one base runner that's affected, but it could be several base runners that are affected, and do get pushed back, possibly. It's a delayed dead ball, so it's not called immediately. Now, if the batter does not hit the ball, the runners are permitted to continue. And if a play is made and a runner is called out, the out stands, and the delay and the runner leaving early is not enforced. Now, if a play is made and the runner's safe, the runners must return to the base occupied before the pitch. So if you have a runner on first and second, and they do a double steal, and one of them leaves early, and they both get to the next base safely, well, both runners need to retreat to their prior base. The action of one impacts both. And there are no outs recorded for this act of leaving early. Now, if a batter hits the ball, a little different. The runners are allowed to continue. If a play is made and the runners are out or is out, the out stands. If a play is made and no runners are out, the runners must return to their original base or to the unoccupied base nearest to the one that was left. So if the batter runner achieves, let's say there's a runner on first, that runner leaves early from first base and the batter runner achieves first base safely, and R1 gets all the way to third base, well, that runner's going to get pushed back to second base. He doesn't get the extra base for leaving early. He only gets the base that he's pushed to. The umpire is going to determine the base value of the hit ball, and the batter may not advance beyond that value. So let's watch a play. This is a complicated play. There's a lot that's going on in this. So do focus on the runner on second base. Right there. Yeah. So that runner, a lot going on here. You probably saw the play by the plate umpire, or the call by the plate umpire. He called runner from third base safe. He was out by several steps. But if you look at that runner on second base, they've clearly left second base before the pitch reaches the batter. The pitch is only about halfway to the batter, and he's clearly one, if not two steps off of second base. So the correct ruling, this is a bases loaded situation. This is a special case in Little League because the batter runner achieves first base safely. Everybody advances. And so in Little League, what you're going to do is you're going to remove the runner from third from the base paths. And he does not score a run, though. He's just removed from the field. It's called the poof play. It rarely happens, but this is an example of it that we just saw. All right, base awards for a ball thrown out of play. Uh, it's a two base award for throws on a batted ball. So if it's the first play by an infielder, then it's two bases from the time of the pitch. If it's the second play by an infielder or the first play by an outfielder, then it's two bases from the time of the throw. So if you have, let's say, a double play that's trying to be turned, and the shortstop scoops, shovels it over to the second baseman. That's the first throw. And then if the second baseman then throws the ball into dead ball territory, then two bases will be awarded from the time of that throw from the second baseman. Now, base awards for a pitcher, it's one base awarded if it's a pitched ball or a pickoff attempt and the pitcher's in contact with the pitcher's plate at the time that he attempts that pickoff or throws the pitch. It's two bases if it's a pickoff play when the pitcher steps off the pitcher's plate. They have to be in contact with the pitcher's plate for it to only be the one base award. When they've stepped off the pitcher's plate, they're just another infielder. All right. Mark's going to take us through interference and obstruction.
Yes, Mark's just answering a question in the chat about leading off. And we also had a question about the flag that you drop for leaving early. So you should have an actual, like a signal flag similar to what they use in football to drop if somebody leaves early. Or you can just remember that somebody left early and then you wait for the play to finish. As Jim said, it's a delayed dead ball. And then you're going to place the runners after action has stopped. So and for leading off, you're stuck for majors and below. You need to stay on the base as a base runner until that ball reaches the batter. But intermediate and above, regular baseball with leading off and pickoffs and box and all of that good stuff. And that whole base awards thing, where you often see it is with a pickoff throw. If the pitcher throws from the pitcher's rubber and throws it out, it's a one base award. But if they step off and then throw, then you've got two bases. So very important to know what the pitcher does. All right, interference and obstruction, right? We got a lot of people running around, two different teams, and we want to make sure that the right person has the right of way. So on the batter has the right of way to swing at a pitch, right? That catcher should not be getting in their way when they are swinging at a pitch. And that's called catcher's interference. And what is going to happen is that is a delayed dead ball on catcher's interference. So you wait and see, did he make it first without the interference, or do you need to call it? And you're going to be awarding that batter first base for the catcher's interference. Now, once the batter hits the pitch, the fielder has the right of way to field the batted ball without being interfered with. And so you can have either the batter or a base runner can interfere with a fielder, get in their way, impede them. Doesn't have to touch them, just it gets impedes them in their act of fielding a batted ball. So that's important to know. The fielder has the right of way on a batted ball. And once that runner is out there and it's not a batted ball anymore, the runner has the right of way to advance without being obstructed. So if a fielder is not fielding a batted ball and they're in the way of a base runner, that's called obstruction. So we have obstruction and interference. And if you're watching a broadcast, the broadcasters almost always get interference and obstruction mixed up. But just think about this simple thing. There's catcher's interference, there's batter or runner interference, and there's fielder obstruction. So we're going to deal with obstruction first. So let's get up to that. So go ahead, Jim.
Yep.
There we go. So if the fielder is not in possession of the ball and they impede the progress of any runner, that is obstruction. It is also obstruction to do a fake tag, like you don't have the ball and you pretend like you do, and you are laying a tag so you cause maybe the runner from first to slide into second when he might have been able to make it to third. We're calling that obstruction. That's a Little League distinctive. And a runner, as they're running, they have a right to go on their baseline, that straight line between them and the next base, without a fielder being in their way. So often we'll see a fielder just oblivious or on purpose camping out in the way of that runner, slowing them down, impeding them. So we have an important distinction between Major League Baseball and Little League. So the Major League rule says catcher cannot block the pathway of the runner unless he is fielding the ball or when he already has possession of the ball. Little League takes out that phrase, is fielding the ball. Little League says if the defensive player blocks the base or baseline clearly without possession of the ball, obstruction shall be called. So it's black and white. The fielder either has the ball or he does not. He doesn't get any leeway to be like the ball's almost there or he's in the act of fielding the ball. If he does not have the ball, he cannot be in the runner's way. And that is called obstruction. So we have two kinds of obstruction, and they're called type A and type B. Those are named after the part of the rule. So you see up in the right-hand corner, 7.06 part A. Type A means that play is being made on the obstructed runner, or the batter runner is obstructed before touching first base. And so it's an immediate dead ball, and you award the one runner at least one base beyond the base last legally touched. And the placement of other runners is up to the umpire's judgment. So type A, immediate dead ball, and the awards are mandated by the rule. Here is an example of type A obstruction.
Perfect pitch there on the inside corner. Now they throw down. How they going to run down here? Noah Dickham running all the way back. He's going to be obstruction. I believe Escobar, who got in the way of Dara, and he's being awarded home plate. It's 36. Right in the baseline.
Watch there, that
contact there.
That fielder no longer had the ball,
Look here.
and they were in the way, and they caused obstruction. And in a rundown, the ball's being thrown. If they have the ball, they can be there. They can be in the path. They can be trying to make the tag. But once they throw the ball, and they can no longer be in the path of that fielder. And if they impede them in any way, that's obstruction. And notice that this guy was obstructed between third and home, so he was awarded home, even though he was returning to third base. The punitive action of that obstruction means that he is awarded. And then the umpires will also place any other runners where they think they would have gotten had the obstruction not taken place. So that's immediate dead ball because a play was being made on the obstructed runner. All right, we're going to have another vote here. So let's watch this play.
Catch the left, and this ball's just hit really hard, and Chris Andrews can't get over there in time. But watch Arent there, cut the ball off, and then make a perfect throw to the relay man, Chris Colton, who throws a strike to J.R. Osman.
So watch this catcher. Did he have the ball when he was impeding that runner? That's what we're going to look for. So let's look at the choices here. We have two choices, and it is either A, the runner is out, or B, the runner is awarded home on the catcher's obstruction. What do you say? All right. A lot of good votes here. And almost everybody said obstruction by that catcher. And it was pretty clear that this catcher was set up right in the way before the ball got there. Now, if he already had the ball, he could be there. He could block the plate. But without the ball, until the ball is actually there, he is not allowed to be there, and he is guilty of obstruction. And this is type A obstruction. They're making a play on this runner. By the way, in the original play, the umpire got it wrong. So a lot of people miss obstruction. They're not thinking about it. They're not watching for it. And so it's a reminder, everyone, turn your camera off as well as your microphone.
So, Mark, Isaac's got a question about the fake tag, I believe. And so let's take a moment just to review the fake tag. Usually the ball's out in the outfield, and so the play's not being made on a player. But the fake tag is done to try to make, say, a runner advancing to second base to slide and stop their possible attempt at getting to third base. So it's going to be a delayed dead ball, and you, as the umpire, can use your judgment either just to keep him at second base, or if you think he had a legitimate possibility of getting to the next base, then you can award him the next base. So it's a delayed
Absolutely.
dead ball.
Yeah. So just to be aware that, because they're like a shortstop will think, oh, it's really cute if I can get him to slide when he doesn't need to. And it's just it's dangerous, and it's not good sportsmanship either.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep moving. We're moving on to type B. This is named after the second part of that rule, 706B. And when no play is being made on the obstructed runner, that means their ball is elsewhere, but it is a delayed dead ball. And you wait till the end of the play, and you impose the penalties that will nullify the act of obstruction. So if they wouldn't have made it past second, but they were obstructed at second, you can just award them to second. But if you thought, oh, this guy would have made it to third, minus the obstruction, you can award them to third. Or type B, let's say there's a base hit to right field, and the first baseman gets in the way of that runner, and they get thrown out at second base. But if they had not been obstructed, they would have made it to second base. Up to the umpire to fix it, to make sure they get the base they would have gotten to had the obstruction not happened. This means that as an umpire, we're watching the play. We're seeing where the fielders are if they're getting in the way of our runners. Now, if the runner says, oh, I was obstructed, I think I'm going to get awarded my next base, and they wouldn't have made it, and they go beyond the base that the umpire thinks they should have made it to, the out can stand in the umpire's judgment. So they are going at their own risk at that point. So you see people that get type A and type B mixed up, the players, and they think, oh, I'm going to be awarded the next base, and they go and they get tagged out. That's on them. That's their own risk that they're doing. So what you would do when the obstruction happens. You're going to point, you're going to say that's obstruction, but the play goes on. You very often see this, especially in minors, but even in majors and other levels at first base. First baseman doesn't know how to get out of the way. Maybe they're just going to like stand on the base or take away the inside corner, and you can point and say that's obstruction. And if that runner gets put out when they should not have, you can do the award after that. All right, so this is the bottom of the sixth. It's the home is batting. We've got runners at first and second.
A rocket, but they do not care if this player. And this one hit well. And it's a good hit. This game is going to be tied. You're the third. In time, they got it.
Okay, the first base umpire comes in, calls time, points to the obstruction where it was, and overturns the call. Let's watch it again. Watch the right there. That's the obstruction. He's running into the first baseman. Wasn't intentional, but he just got in the way. And it's type B because a play is not being made on that runner. So as the play finishes out, that's what caused him to be out at third, was that obstruction right there. All right. So we have another situation coming up here. We're going to have a vote. So let's watch this play here. Runners first and second.
Ball sneaks into the glove of the third baseman, and the bases are lowered. 3 in a row, including 2 straight pinch hits. So the subs, the reserves, delivering here in clutch time in the 4th inning for Connecticut. And he has been awarded home plate. Nick Maynard just was awarded home, and now the third base umpire, Bill Bailey, is going to get a visit and see from Coach Costello.
See, the third baseman obstructs the runner from second base. And it's umpire judgment where that guy's going to get placed. So let's look at our choices. So bad call. There was no obstruction. R2 should not receive a base award. B, obstruction by the third baseman on R2, but improper award of home to R2. C, obstruction by the third baseman on R2 and proper award of home. So we've got 3 choices, A, B, or C. And let's go ahead and vote on that. All right. The votes are coming in. Do you think the award of home was proper? And let's look at those results. Most people said B, that the umpire should have just awarded third base, that it wasn't sufficient. That guy was not minus the obstruction, he was not going to score. And so I think that is the proper call. But it is umpire judgment, and some people, the calls get missed, unfortunately. But this might have been a time for the crew to get together and talk about, what did you see? Where do you think the award should have been? All right, let's turn it over to Jim, and he gets to do interference.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. So remember, obstruction is when the defense impedes the offense, and interference, for the most part, is when the offense impedes the defense, with the exception of catcher's interference. This is where the catcher interferes with the batter's swing. Now, it's going to be a delayed dead ball. The batter is awarded first base if the ball's not put in play or the batter does not achieve first base successfully on the play. If the batter reaches first base and all of the runners advance at least one base, then the interference is ignored and you just go to the next batter. The manager does have the option to take the penalty or the play. So let's look at this situation. We have runners on second and third and 2 outs.
Awesome. On the ground, nice and easy. Peterson will take his time to make the play. Brandon Woodruff, wait a minute. You got a catcher's interference here.
See that right there in the red circle? It's pretty clear to see that the bat has hit the catcher's glove, and that's catcher's interference. And umpire's in great position to see it. We talk about it in our mechanics clinics about the importance of watching the ball all the way to the glove. This is one of the reasons why, because if you're not watching the ball all the way to the glove, then you may be missing some catcher's interference. Oh, I guess this is a vote too. Let's see what we got on the vote here. Batters awarded first base and runners on second and third are allowed to advance. So it's a live ball. The batters awarded first base and runners on second and third must return to their previous bases, or the batter is out at first and the half inning is over. That's the third out. So let's see what we got for a vote here, Mark.
All right, here it comes, A, B, or C. What do you think?
It's like it's neck and neck between A and B. The way the votes are coming in.
Keep those votes coming. A few more people can vote. All right, here are the results.
Yeah, so first, I think everybody recognized that we have interference here. And so this is going to be B. It's going to be the correct response. Batter is going to be awarded first base, and the runners on second and third must return to their previous bases. The batter never achieved first base successfully, so he's going to be awarded first base, but runners on second and third must return to their previous bases in that situation.
But if they were forced to advance by the batter runner being awarded first base, they would advance. But since first base was open, they're not forced to advance.
Correct. Yeah. All right. All right, interference, runner with a fielder. We see this a lot in Little League play. This is where a batter and runner must avoid a fielder who is attempting to field a batted ball, or if they intentionally interfere with a thrown ball. The word intentional is really important here. It's an immediate dead ball. If the batter interferes, the batter's out and the runners are returned to their previous bases. If a runner interferes, that runner's out and the batter is awarded first base and all of the runners are returned to their previous bases. Now, if you have two fielders that both have a chance at making a play on the ball, the umpire can only protect one of those. You have to make a judgment as to which fielder is the most likely to make the play. You can't protect both. You have to pick one or the other. So this is going to be a runner interfering with a fielder fielding a batted ball. Let's see what we got here.
Left and having to reach over, so maybe setting up more down the middle helps.
Big bouncer, tough play. Gregorius has it go up.
Another look, high chopper. Gregorius, the only thing you can think about is barehanding, but that doesn't matter. It was really the collision with Headley, who was legitimately trying to get there to make the play. Lindor at the last minute tries to adjust, but it's incumbent up.
That's a tough one. We have converging fielders on that. Clearly, the shortstop and the third baseman have a chance at that. The umpire needs to make a choice. Which one is he going to protect? I'm probably going to, myself, from what I can see on this, I'm going to protect the third baseman. He's probably has the better chance of making a play and getting the batter runner out at first base. So to me, that's an interference call. That runner's out. The R1 is going to be allowed to go to second base, and the batter runner is going to be allowed to stay at first base.
Yeah. Now, Jim, on that play, had you had the shortstop as the protected fielder, then the third baseman could be guilty of obstruction
Yes.
here because he's not the protected fielder. But in this case, we were looking at that angle. That's a third baseman's ball all day.
Yeah, a good point on the possible obstruction. So there's a lot that you got to process quickly. That's why you want to take your time when you're an umpire and not rush too fast in terms of making a call. Just a reminder, the runners, they can go out of their base path to, or go out of the baseline to avoid a fielder making a play on the ball. That's totally legit. All right, now runner being hit by a batted ball. See a lot of this that goes on in Little League. These are not runner interference. These are runner hit by a batted ball. That's the words they use in the rule book. It's the responsibility of the runner not to get hit by the ball. It's an immediate dead ball. The runner's out for being hit by the batted ball. Although the runners are returned to their time of pitch base, and the batter is awarded first base. Now, a runner is not out if the batted ball is first deflected off of a fielder, or the batted ball goes through or by a fielder and touches a runner immediately in back of that fielder. There's an exception to that. If the umpire is convinced that the ball passed through or by the infielder, but another fielder had a chance to make a play on the ball, well, then you could still have interference. It's only if no other fielders had a chance to make a play on that ball. Then it's on the through or by. The deflected, if it's deflected and hits the runner, then the runner's always going to be not in jeopardy. So what's that mean, through or by? So here's an example. We got one fielder, it gets by him and then hits the runner. And oh, look, there's a fielder that was just in back and could have made a play on that ball. In this situation, that runner could have been called out for interference. All right, we got a video here of a runner being hit by a deflected ball. Let's see what it looks like.
It's something off it. He rolls it to first. It hit the base runner. And you see here the first baseman, Flores King, goes after the ball, goes past him, and game on. I just wasn't sure if it hit the runner or the glove.
Yeah, it's not a great angle on this, but it does kick off of the first baseman's leg, and so it's a deflected ball, and then it hit that R1. Now, if it had gone through his legs, the second baseman looked like he was lined up pretty well in back of the first baseman, and that runner could have been called out for interference if it had just gone through or by the first baseman. But in this situation, it looks like it kicked off his leg, deflected off his leg, in which case, runner is not in jeopardy of being called out. All right, we're going to vote on this one. Remember, runners can't get hit by the bat ball.
Here's Jefferson's next pitch. And that is going to hit the runner, but he's on the bag. He was on the bag.
Yeah, I'm sorry some of these are coming through choppy, but the runner's on the bag, and he get hit by the ball. So let's vote on this. Well, the runner's on the bag, so R2 is safe since he's protected while standing on second base when he's hit by the ball. R2 and R3 can't advance. The ball is live. B, R2 is out for being hit with the batted ball. R3 can advance. Ball is live. And C, R2 is out for being hit with the batted ball. R3 cannot advance and must return to their prior base. Let's put the poll up.
All right, a few more votes coming in. man, let's share it. This one,
Wow, we got a dead heat here. Yeah, look at that. Just about even across the board. So the runners are not protected while standing on the bag in most situations. So A is not the answer because there is no protection for standing on the bag. If you get hit by the batted ball, it's an immediate dead ball. And so B is not the right answer because R3 should not be able to advance on that immediate dead ball. So C is the right answer. The R2 is out for being hit by the batted ball, and R3 cannot advance and must return to their prior base. The batted runner, by the way, is awarded first base. Yeah. Okay. Now, a runner interfering with a thrown ball. On a thrown ball, a runner's out only if he or she intentionally interferes with a throw. That's really key. It's got to be an intentional interference. Now, a double play may be called if it's intentional, if the interference is intentional. Let's see some of this kind of action.
Bouncing ball to Cheryl. The good stop goes to second. The ball gets struck.
That's just a bad throw. That
Goldie pays it. A play at the plate. They hit the runner and the game is over. Running on his way from third to the plate.
uh, I'm sorry. So on the first two, we had no interference. There was no intention by the runner to be hit by the thrown ball. Now you can argue in the second one here, the runner R3 is taking a path that puts him in the throwing lane of the third baseman. There's no rule in baseball against that, not in Little League or in MLB. So it is not an interference.
Game is over. Running on his way from third to the plate.
These ones are different.
This gets away from Murphy, backed up by Walters. They got him hung up. He dropped it once. And he
put his helmet into the.
Yeah. Pretty clear that Mr. Calhoun there moved his helmet, his head in the direction of the ball. Maybe not the smartest play he's had in his MLB career, but you're going to call that interference on the thrown ball intentionally. All right, we got a vote here. This is going to be a hard one. There's a lot that goes on in this, so I just want to prep you on it. So the video is going to start just after the batter has executed a legal bunt. You can see the ball, it's right out in front of home plate. He's just executed a legal bunt. And so we got a lot going on here. Questions two is, does the batter impede the catcher from fielding the batted ball? That's one thing you want to look for on this. And does the batter intentionally interfere with the thrown ball? Let's see what we got here. A lot going on there. A lot going on. So our vote options are the batter runner's out for interfering with the catcher's attempt to field the batted ball, and R1 returns to first base. Number two is the batter runner is out for interfering with the catcher's attempt to throw to second base, and R1 returns to first base. Where C, the catcher had completed the process of fielding the ball when the batter runner makes contact, and the batter runner did not intentionally interfere with the throw. Therefore, there's no interference and the play stands. Those are our three choices.
all right, here comes the poll. Appreciate everybody participating in the polls.
No.
And just, as umpires, you have to make a decision. You have to make it quick and then
Yeah.
make a ruling. All right, so here are the results of B and C in an almost dead heat.
You can see almost a dead heat. Yeah. So let's break this one down a little bit. So the catcher had completed the process of fielding the ball. He was actually starting to throw the ball or get lined up to throw the ball when contact was made. And the contact was not intentional when the catcher was throwing the ball. So therefore, it's C. It's no interference and the play stands. That's actually how that crew adjudicated that play as well. They did get together, they talked about it, and that's the way that they ruled it.
Yeah. I'm sure there were some feelings that interference that he interfered with the throw just by taking a bad route to get to first base, that was kind of negligence and almost rose to the level of being intentional. But I think ultimately it's C. But it's up for debate for
Yeah,
sure.
it's a tough one. I'm sure the crew got a visit from the coach, the defense coach. All right. Batter interference. Batter's out for legal action when interfering with the catcher's fielding or throwing by stepping out of the batter's box, making a movement that hinders the catcher's actions at home plate or the catcher's attempt to make a play on a runner, or failing to make a reasonable effort to vacate a congested area when there's a throw to home plate and there's time for the batter to move away. We see a lot of this in Little League. So if you're an umpire, you can do some preventative umpiring, tell that batter runner, hey, make sure that you clear this area next time that ball skids by the catcher. These are delayed dead balls. If the runner's retired, then the interference is ignored. Otherwise, the batter's out and the runners return to their original bases. Let's see some examples of all three of these. Stepping out of the batter's box. Out of the batter's box at that point and in the throwing lane. That's got to hurt too. All right, second one is making a movement that hinders the catcher's actions at home plate or catcher's attempt to make a play on a runner. Yeah. So we have interference by that batter getting in the way of the catcher trying to make a play on that. And failing to make a
Hey, go in the baseline, kid.
yeah. We'll talk about this in a second here. We got
Runner goes down. The pitch is swinging again to Mims. And on the backswing, that caught Bobby Wilson.
so that over aggressive swing interferes with the catcher's attempt to try to retire R1, stealing. The swing, that was strike three. So the batter's already out. So we cannot call him out again for the interference. So R1 is going to be called out for his teammates' interference. That's where we get that double play on batter interference. So just be mindful, umpires, when you have runners on first for that, action by the batter that may get in the way of a catcher trying to retire a base runner trying to steal. All right, we got to vote. Catcher thinks he's got interference. What do you think? Batter's out for interfering with the catcher's throw. The batter's not out since he's allowed to hold his ground in the batter's box.
All right, here's our poll, A or B. Think about what that batter did. Did it rise to the level of interference or not? All right, let's share this poll. We got a lot of people voting for B.
Yeah, and that is the right answer. Yeah, the batter can hold their ground. In fact, you want them to hold their ground. The catcher needs to work around the batter standing in the batter's box. And if the catcher throws the ball into the batter or he throws it off of the bat of the batter, it's just bad defense by the catcher. I see in the chat that Eli has a question about if wasn't a strikeout, would the batter have been out? And I think that Eli's question is about the prior video that shows that double play. No, it wouldn't have been a strikeout. The batter would have been out on interference in that prior play where we had the double play. The batter would have been out for the interference, and the runner would have been sent back to first base. Hopefully that answers that question. Okay. Mark is going to take us into this slide.
Yeah. And I'll answer Jaden's question about the bat. As long as the batter is in the batter's box, can they do whatever they want? They're still not allowed to move in a way that's going to get in the way of the catcher. But if they're standing, the catcher is supposed to go around them. So it's not completely immune, but in umpire's judgment, if they did something to interfere with that catcher, knowing that the catcher should have gone on either side of them to make that throw to retire the runner. So you still want to watch them. I'm not comfortable with the words they can do whatever they want. There's got to be some reason within that. I mean, if they stick their bat up and try to interfere with the throw of the catcher, even though they're standing in the batter's box, that can still be called interference. So here we go with Rule 708A, Part 3. This is a Little League unique rule. So it's the slide or attempt to go around rule. Little League doesn't have a must slide rule. You have to slide or attempt to go around. So if the fielder has the ball in his or her possession and the fielder is waiting to make the tag, then the runner has to either slide or try to go around without going 3 feet out of the baseline, or they can retreat, or they just give themselves up. What it means is that you're not allowed to come crashing into that fielder and try to jar the ball loose. But it means that you're trying to avoid a collision. You don't have to, it doesn't mean that you have to avoid touching them completely. You just try to get around them and get into your base. And so, and the crucial thing is the fielder has to have the ball and needs to be waiting to make the tag. If the ball is arriving just as the runner is arriving, then the slide or attempt to go around rule is not in effect. All right. And
we have Mark, we have somebody who's actually, I think, drawing on the slides and that drawing is coming through. So please refrain from using your cursor on the presentation because it's appearing for everybody.
yeah, thank you. All right. So just the clarity about that rule. All right. So here is an example. This is not a Little League example, but it is to illustrate the slide or attempt to go around rule.
Ground ball to first. And Campbell's coming home, and they're going to have Ryan Howard. He played sit with the play.
Does an unbelievable slide coming home. Throw that took him up the line, and Ryan just shows his
So he is going around.
tag. And very nice slide, heads up play as well.
But in Little League majors and below, we are not allowed to slide in head first while advancing. There can be a hook slide if the feet go in and the hands are the first thing to touch the plate. But in this case, this runner is diving into the plate. So if this was Little League, he could be called out for a headfirst slide. So just be aware of that. Now, when they're retreating, they can dive in head first, but going forward, they need to go in feet first. This is majors and below. Once we get to intermediate, juniors, seniors, they can go head first.
Yep.
And so if you stumble, that is not considered a head first slide. And if somebody is called out for having a head first slide, it doesn't affect the other runners. But if it's also could have been a force play and they're called out sliding into a base, that satisfies the conditions of a force call for whether or not runners score and things like that. All right. So here is a headfirst slide at a critical moment of the game.
Flanagan shows bunt on the delayed steal, trying to draw the throw. Now he's in the pickle. The runner comes from second and safe.
Notice there were 2 outs, and the headfirst slide going into second happens before the runner scores. So it's a timing play. And the third out happens, that headfirst slide, and that run does not score.
And that's how the game ends. Yeah.
So a heads up call by the umpires. All right, we're going to talk about appeals. And we talked about last night, if there's a missed base, the umpire needs to keep that information to themselves and wait for the defense to properly appeal. That same is true if somebody fails to retouch in a timely fashion on a fly ball. There needs to be an appeal of that infraction. So it's an act of a fielder claiming a violation of the rules by the offensive team, usually a missed base or a failure to retouch on a tag up for a fly ball. So there are different things here. Like I said, the failure to retouch, to failure to touch each base in order while advancing and returning. And here's a note: if somebody overruns, let's say, second base, and they need to retreat back to first base, they have to retouch second base on their way back to first base. Last time by is the rule. And so if they touch it on the way there but miss it on the way back, you can get them for failure to touch that base, but it needs to be in a proper appeal by the defense. If you don't return to first base immediately, you're dawdling or just taking way too much time, you can be tagged out for failure to return. And then if you miss home plate and you don't return to touch it immediately and you go off into dead ball territory into the dugout, they can tag home plate and say, hey, this runner missed it. And the umpire, having that information in their head, would then make the call. So this appeal has to happen before the next pitch, play, or an attempted play, not counting continuous action that's going on. The ball has to be live. So if you call timeout and try to make an appeal, umpire can say, I can't rule on that. The ball needs to be live. And the act of an appeal is not in itself a play or an attempted play. And you also have to make it clear to the umpire that's what you're doing. If somebody missed second base and center field comes running in and they just happen to step on second base with the ball, that's not an appeal. It's not clearly showing that you're trying to make that appeal. If there's multiple runners, then they should say which runner it was that missed a base. so that it's there are times when, like, if the runner left early from third base on a fly ball and they throw over and tag that base, that's obvious that they're appealing that he left early. But in other situations, they may need to verbally state what it is that they're appealing to make it clear to the umpires. So the defensive players have to be on the field. So it can happen as a fourth out at the end of an inning. The pitcher has to be on the mound with the ball. If the ball's not live, umpire puts the ball back into play. Then the pitcher needs to step off legally, not start a pitch, but step off with their pivot foot. And then they throw to the base, or you tag the runner that missed the base and you tell the umpire what they're appealing. The ball's live. And so, hey, all those other runners can take advantage of it. Everybody's looking at the appeal that's happening and they might have a chance to advance. So, and if they stop the appeal to try to deal with one of those runners, that's a play or an attempted play that's going to avoid the appeal. So there's a window that is available for you to make that appeal. All right, so here's a famous example. This is at San Bernardino, and this is the Petaluma team that ultimately went to the World Series. And they've called timeout, and they're talking about it on the mound, and the coach gives really good instructions to their team, and they're going to execute an appeal properly.
The pitch coming from Andrew White. That's in the left field for a base hit. Six. He's going to score 2 runs in a tying run. Moore will be at second. He scored. Hey, did he miss third? You weren't looking? Did you think he did? Which one? Which one, the first guy or the second guy? No, the first guy. Which one? The second guy? Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to step off, and you're going to, when he says play, you're going to step off, you're going to throw it to Cole, nice and easy, and you're going to say that the second runner missed the bag.
And the umpire was watching. He saw it. He saw the miss right there. And he was ready to make that call.
All right. Hey, we have a couple questions on appeal. Yuta asks, is it only players on defense, defensive team that can appeal? Yes. The appeal plays are pretty much all against infractions on the offense. So it's defense that's going to do the appeals. And then KD asks, how do you appeal a play at first base if the runner did not touch the colored base and A has not returned to the white base yet, or B returns to the white base, B, I think being defense, returns to the white base and the ball has been returned to the pitcher. So let me handle this, Mark. So if the batter runner does not touch the colored portion of the bag and returns to the white portion of the bag before an appeal is made, then that batter runner is safe and there can be no appeal. If the batter runner does not touch a portion of the colored portion of the double first base on their, and they go past it, the defense has a window where they could then do any of the proper appeals. They can just, tell the umpire, I'm, appealing that he missed the bag, and then the umpire is going to call him out. If the umpire is observing the batter runner who does not touch any portion of the colored part of the bag, the umpire should be giving no signal because the batter runner is not safe, nor is he out at that moment. So remember, you got to let the appeal, give it a moment for the appeal to work its way out there. Thanks, Mark.
Yep. All right. We're moving on to batting out of turn or batting out of order. So you have a proper batter, somebody who should be batting, an improper batter, somebody who is batting and it's not their turn. They've jumped in, they're up there, and they are trying to, or they're up there batting. It's not their turn. And then at some point, you can become legalized if you were an improper batter, and they don't appeal it properly, then you become a proper batter and the batting order picks up after them. This is a complicated rule. It takes about 2 pages in the rule book to go through all the different situations, but it's important to remember a couple of key things as we go through. So, if the defense appeals before the at bat is done, then the proper batter just comes back up and he resumes the improper batter's count, and there's no other penalty. But if they finish that at bat, they become a runner or they're retired, and you before the first pitch to the next batter of either team or before any play, then it's the proper batter, the person who should have been batting, is declared out. And if there are any advancements or scores by runners because of a ball batted by the improper batter or because of the improper batter's advance to first base, all of those things will be nullified. So anything that that improper batter does that causes people to move up, that all gets negated if the appeal is properly done. But if there are advances that were not due to the action of the improper batter, like a steal or a balk at the upper divisions, a wild pitch, pass ball, then that's going to stand regardless of what the improper batter does. So the key thing is it's the proper batter who is called out. Now, if they fail to appeal this properly, then that improper batter becomes the proper batter and everything is now legal and the batting order is just going to continue. It isn't going to make a permanent new batting order, but just for this time through, maybe we missed somebody, but they got legalized. We're going to go on, and then they hopefully will get it right the next time. It's a big mess, but you need to just sit down with your lineup, say who should have been batting, who was batting, kind of step by step sort it out, and you deal with it. I several years ago had a game where I think they batted out of order 4 times. It was just a team that really didn't have their lineup figured out. A good team will have one of the assistant coaches that is monitoring the lineup and making sure that the proper batter is the one that's batting. But it's to prevent that that gamesmanship where you really want to put somebody else up in a crucial situation. Everybody needs to bat, and continuous batting order. It's every person has their spot to bat. So just slow down, do it step by step, and work with your scorekeeper to figure out what should have happened and how to fix it. All right, let's go back to Jim we're about to close out. It's game management, and then we're going to do resources and then answer any questions.
Yeah. Yep. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, we are done with the rules portion of our clinic. If you have any rules questions, stick around at the end because Mark and I will be here and we'll answer any additional rules questions. We're going to talk about game management now. So part of the umpiring experience, you're in charge of the game. So it starts with a plate meeting. The umpires and managers meet about 5 minutes before the scheduled start time. So 12 o'clock start, you're having your plate meeting at 11:55. If there are 2 youth umpires, your game coordinator should be joining you at the plate meeting. The players, both offense and defense, all should be in the dugout. We have an acronym that we use as umpires. It's LEGS. The L stands for lineups. That's the first thing you're going to go over. And you want to make sure that the players' names are written down on the lineup card. Numbers are nice to have. You usually will get both, but it's important to have the players' names. If all you have are numbers, you have to turn it back and make sure that the coach gives you their names. That sets the batting orders. You need one for both the bat nine and continuous batting order. So if you come to the plate meeting and you say, "Can I have your lineup coach?" And he says, "Well, we're continuous batting order, so you don't need one." Absolutely, you do. Mark just went through the batting out of turn, and what you carry in your pocket is the lineup card. The E in leg stands for equipment. You will ask each coach, are your players properly and legally equipped to play in accordance with Little League rules? You will wait till they say yes. If they give you something like, I sure hope so, just ask them again. You're waiting until they say yes. The G is for ground rules. Every field has its own little quirks, and so you'll want to go over the ground rules. If you don't know them, just have the home coach review them with you and the rest of the people at the plate meeting. And the S stands for sportsmanship. Just remind them that it's Little League Baseball and that good sportsmanship is a part of the experience. That's our plate meeting. You should be getting this done in about 2 minutes or less. It should be fast. The more you do this, the faster you'll be. So a continuous batting order lineup card, it's going to look something like this. All players are in the order are listed. There are all batters. You want to make sure you get who your pitcher and catcher are designated, those positions at a minimum. You want to find out from the coaches if you have any ineligible pitchers and make a note on your lineup card. And defensive subs, they do not need to be reported to the umpire. It's up to the coach to make sure the manager that all players get their minimum play time. Some leagues have a minimum play time of 9 defensive outs. If it's 6 or 9, it doesn't matter. They don't need to be consecutive. They just need to get that minimum number of defensive innings in. Now, the backside of the lineup card, I use it for taking notes myself. So pitchers and the number of visits. This is the way I do it. Every umpire will develop his own. So if this is something that looks like it may be something you might want to try, go right ahead. I want to note who my catchers are and the innings that they caught because catchers can pitch as long as they don't exceed certain limits. I want to make notes of who my courtesy runners are and my special pinch runners. I want to make notes of who had an intentional verbal walk because the players are only allowed to have one of those a game. And personally, I just keep track of the score by the half inning. That way, especially early in the year, if we get a rain out, I can just turn this card over to the umpire that's going to do the continuation game, and they'd have everything that they need to pick up where that rain out got left off. And that's where you can make notes about your ejections and protests. These are rare, so I don't save a lot of space for those, but yeah. So warm-up pitches in between the half innings. By rule, the pitchers allowed 8 preparatory pitches or 1 minute, whatever comes first. So that's a maximum of 8 pitches or 1 minute. And that's from the time the last out was recorded of the prior half inning. Now, you can reduce the number of warm-up pitchers if it's taking too long. And strictly followed, there should be no more than 12 minutes of total, between inning warm-up time in a 6-inning game. Now, if you think about it, if you're allowing 2 minutes in those 12 half innings, that's 24 minutes where we're not playing. If it's taking 3 minutes and 3 minutes, I've seen a lot of that, and especially down in minors, that's 36 minutes where you're not playing. And if you've got a time limit in your league, that's a lot of time that's being consumed by not playing baseball. So make it fast. And me personally, I'll limit it to 3 warm-up pitches if they've taken too long. So some things you can do to speed up the half inning. Hopefully we got a few coaches that are listening to this. Talk to your team in the dugout, not outside the dugout. make sure you get your leadoff batter ready. And substitutes, while announced on offense, are announced when the sub comes to bat or is on base. For the team going on defense, the pitcher warming up with a properly equipped adult or player, get that going as quickly as possible. Now, the adult, they don't have to have all the safety equipment that a player does, but a player needs to have a catcher's helmet and catcher's glove if they're going to go into the squat. If they're just going to stand up and play catch, they do not need that. Minimize that team huddle. Get them on the field. And substitutes, if you're on defense and you got a bunch of substitutes, let the umpire know as quickly as possible. Don't wait till the last warm-up pitch is done before you saunter over to the umpire to give him the subs. This isn't a big deal in continuous batting order, but if you have bat 9 that's going on, then you may get substitutes. Adults on the field, only one manager and 2 coaches, and 3 coaches in minors are allowed on the field or in the dugout. One adult has to be in the dugout at all times. That's both at bat, on offense, or on defense. And managers and coaches must stay in the dugout while their team is on defense. There is an exception for T-ball and minors where managers and coaches may be on the field for instructional purposes. I limit it to 1 coach in minors. I wouldn't let a whole bunch of coaches out there, just 1. For majors, they cannot be on the field, and buckets are never allowed on the field. It's a safety hazard. So those are some tips on game management. It's part of the game. It's part of our responsibilities as umpires to make sure the game moves along. And yeah, there you go. Mark, bring us home.
All right. So, biggest thing, we've hit parts of the rules, but there's a lot we didn't cover. Fortunately, there is a rule book app that is available. It's free at Google Play or the Apple App Store. It has all the rules, regulations for Little League Baseball, Little League Softball, and for Challenger. It's searchable, and it has also a lot of videos in it that show interpretations of the rules and case plays. So recommend you do that. Once you have it, it updates automatically each year, and it's there available for you with your phone. Although I wouldn't recommend bringing your rule book / your phone with you on the field. You need to know it in your head. Also, just go to the Little League website, littleleague.org. And there are links there for umpires, training resources, videos, rules and mechanics, the updates, the new rules for this year, tips and tricks. There's also a website called the Little League Umpire Registry, littleleagueumpire.org. And this is a free service that you can join. And there's a lot of good training there. That's also how you can apply to be a regional or World Series umpire through the Little League Registry, and a lot of great things there. As you get more serious about your umpiring, you want to invest in some of your own gear. So I own all my own stuff, so I don't have to wear something covered with somebody else's sweat from a previous game. It's just got my sweat on it, although I wipe that off very carefully every time. But a recommendation, jerrydavis.com. There's a lot of great gear there, and you can get a 10% discount as a Little League umpire. Jerry Davis is on the Little League Umpire Advisory Board International. He's been a great friend of Little League. He's one of the longest serving MLB umpires. He's retired now and devotes his time to helping with Little League, lives down in Southern California. There's also Little League branded stuff at Shop Little League. Honig's is another umpire supplier, Umpatire. All of those things, if you want to start investing in your own stuff, It's great because you want to look like an umpire on the field. Now, most of our leagues do a great job of supplying our youth umpires and our other umpires as they go on the field. You want to be properly dressed. You want to match your partner, all of that kind of stuff. So that brings us to a close for our session. Here's a summary of what we covered tonight. We talked about runners, the baseline, the base path, interference, runners leaving early, base awards for ball being thrown out of play, and the ball does get thrown out of play. Ends goes through that dugout opening or over the fence, and you have to know where the runners go. We talked about obstruction, the two types. Type A, where it's an immediate dead ball because the play is being made on the obstructed runner or before they get to first. And type B, when you have to delay the dead ball and award the bases at the end of the play. We talked about interference, the three different kinds, runners, batters, and catchers. We talked about the slide or attempt to go around rule. We talked about appeals and batting out of turn and game management. So thank you everyone
Hey,
for
Mark, we
participating.
got
Yes,
one
Jim.
thing going. There's a bit of a discussion about what is a game coordinator, and so let's just touch on that. Uh, Game coordinators for when there are two youth umpires that are working a game. The game coordinator should be an adult. They may not be an umpire. It'd be nice if you have an umpire or somebody who understands the rules, but they are there to protect you from overly aggressive coaches, so they intervene if coaches are getting out of hand. They're the ones who are also going to eject players or coaches, and they'll be the ones who make determination on whether or not the game should be called because of darkness or weather. So that allows youth umpires to just focus on umpiring baseball. So
Yep.
uh,
And it is a
if you
requirement in the rule book with if you don't have an adult umpire on the field, you need to have a game coordinator as part of that crew.
yeah.
All right.
If you have a youth and an adult, the adult is the umpire in chief, even if they are working the bases and the youth is working the plate. It's the adult is the umpire in chief, and they'll handle all that other stuff that the game coordinator would handle for two youth umpires.
Yep, exactly. So we're going to thank everybody. We're going to stick around. So if you have any questions, you can unmute. We'll still be monitoring the chat as we go along. This video will be posted at cad44.org on the umpire tab. And so you'll be able to watch both nights of this. And we appreciate you being here. And thank you and good night.